Ohai. Polotsk, the city in the Vitebsk region of Belarus, the administrative center of the Polotsk district. About both coasts of the western Двина are located, when falling the Polota river into her. The population of 84597 people. For January 1, 2018. Together with the city of Novopolotsk and the next settlements and villages forms the Polotsk agglomeration with the population about 270,000 people. The most ancient city of Belarus. It is for the first time mentioned in the story of temporary years, under 862. The first annalistic mention of Polotsk belongs to 862. We'll mention a campaign to Polotsk in the Nikonovsky Chronicle of Askold and Deer under 865. Historical kernel of the city was the strengthened settlement of Krivichi, which arose on the place of more ancient settlement of Bansarovsky culture on the river bank of Polota near her confluence with the western Двина. The archaeological excavations on the Polotsk ancient settlement, which are carried out in 2007 by D5. Duck showed that the ancient settlement was populated in 780. The city nature of strengthenings of the ancient settlement is dated not earlier than the middle of the 10th century. Height of the Polotsk ancient settlement is not less than 13.5 m, the area ap. 2 hectares. At the bottom of the ancient settlement the developed system of not strengthened settlements was located. The total area of the Polotsk ancient settlement together with settlements on an extent at the end of the 10th century was 8 hectares. In the 10th centuries the Polotsk earth developed independently and didn't come under influence of Khazars and Varangian tribute. At the end of the 10th century the square of Polotsk increases in tens of times, and in each century the square of Polotsk makes up 180 hectares. To the second quarter 10 of a century Polotsk becomes one of the large social and economic and cultural centers of the region. In the middle of the 10th century there was the Polotsk Principality. It occupied the territory in the basin of the western Двина, upper courses of Berezina and Niemen. Names of the first Polotsk princes didn't remain. The first someone will mention in the chronicle is Rogvolod. The story of temporary years reports about him in 960. In 986 Viking missionary Thorwald Putzgwenik, by the plenipotentiary of Byzantium to the Russian princes in the countries of East Baltic, founded the Christian temple, the first in the territory of the Polotsk Principality, and St. John the Baptist Monastery, near the place at the foot of a hill under the name Drofen, that served as the beginning of distribution of Christianity in the Polotsk Principality. The first famous Polotsk prince who mention annalistic sources is Rogvolod. Mind. OK 978. In 988, 1001 years is Yaslav Vladimirovich, Rognida Rogvolodona and Vladimir Sviatovich's son, the ancestor of a dynasty of the Polotsk princes as Yazychi reigned in Polotsk. Foundation of the Polotsk diocese. On some sources, 1104. Belongs to 992. In 1003-1044 Bryachislav Izyaslovich reigned in Polotsk. He considerably broadened the territory of the Polotsk Principality, having attached the cities of Sviat and Vitebsk and also lands between the western Двина and Disna where the city of Bryachislav based. In the period of Veslav Bryachislavich government, with some breaks from 1044 to 1101. Street. Sofia Cathedral. Between 1030-1060. One of the earliest temples of ancient Russia was constructed. Vaslav Bryacheslevich is the only representative of the Polotsk branch of Rurik dynasty on the Kiev Grand Ducal throne. 1068-1069. At Vaslav Bryacheslevich the Polotsk Principality reached the highest power. With a name of the granddaughter of Vaslav Bryacheslevich, Venerable Euphrosynia. 1110-1173. Abbasis Polotsk, foundation of the Polotsk Spaso-Evphrosynievsky monastery, is connected. By her order in 1161 the master jeweler Lazar Baksha created altar cross, a masterpiece of ancient jewelry art. In 1132 in Polotsk the rebellion which led to change of the power and an exit of the principality from the structure of the old Russian state was excited. In the 12th century fight for domination between the Vitebsk, Minsk and Trotsky branches of descendants of Vaslav Bryacheslevich began. It led to capture of a part of lands of the Polotsk Principality by Novorodians, Smolensk and Chernihiv princes. The Polotsk Principality was under pressure also from Lithuanians and Crusaders. In 1201 in the mouth of the Western Dwina the German Knights Crusaders founded the military and trade settlement of Riga that considerably undermined economic positions of Polotsk. At the beginning of the 1240th years on the Polotsk princely throne often there were Lithuanians, however the state kept independence. Andrei Polotsky 1342, 1377, 1381, 1387. Governing in Polotsk in the second half of the 14th century is one of the most wonderful political figures in the history of Polotchina. After loss by the Prince Andrei of Polotsky of the Principality he was replaced by Skirgaila Olgardovich. 1387-1397. The last independent Polotsk prince. Since 1392 the former Polotskys Earth of Destiny as a part of Grand Duchy of Lithuania were operated by deputies, and since 1504 voivodes. Polotsk is mentioned as the Lithuanian city in Annalistic, the list of the Russian cities distant and near. The end of the 14th century. In 1444-1457 the Polotsk deputy was Andrei Sokovich of the coat of arms of Pomyan, the son of the Boyar Saka. In 1498 in the city the Magdeburg Rite was entered. In 1498 the Grand Duke Alexander Yagelinchik issued the diploma on foundation of the monastery of Bernardines in Polotsk. In 1504-1772 Polotsk was the center of the Polotsk voivodeship of Kiev. Since 1569 the voivodeship of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. In 1518 the Russian army made an unsuccessful attempt to take Polotsk, but was broken by the Polotsk army under Albrecht Gastold's command. After a siege and capture of the city on February 15, 1563 during the Livonian War, Ivan IV Grozny's army plundered Polotsk. After that the city never returned itself the former wealth and glory anymore. Some Russian chronicles and also Maciej Strajkowski and his compilers report that it was on pain of death ordered to Jewish population of the city to be christened in Orthodoxy, and not agreed were drowned in the Western Dwina. However, whether so it was actually, it is unknown. In 1564 the 6-week siege of Polotsk was the Lithuanian troops unsuccessful. In 1563-1579 Polotsk stayed as a part of the Russian kingdom. In 1579 Polotsk besieged and the Polish king Stefan Batory returned. During the Smolensk War in 1633 successful attack to Polotsk makes group of the Russian troops from Nevel and Veliki Luki led by Grigory Radetzky. Many Poles and Lithuanians were whipped, only part of them managed to sit out in the Toplach. During the Russian-Polish War of 1654-1667 Polotsk again temporarily appears under the power of the Russian kingdom. As a result of the first section of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, a right bank part of Polotsk on July 25. On August 1772 was a part of the Russian Empire. Left bank part of Polotsk was a part of the Russian Empire according to the second section of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth in 1792. In 1772-1776 the city was a part of the Pskov province. Since August 24. On September 1776 Polotsk, the administrative center of the Polotsk province since May 12. On May 23. 1778 the Polotsk Namestnichestvo. 20 years finding of Polotsk in provincial quality contributed to significant economic growth and cultural development of the city. The principles of regular planning of the city center were accepted, new office buildings were built, the territory of the city grew, the population increased. Polotsk returned itself the status of the center of local and transit trade. Since December 12. On December 23. 1796 Polotsk became the district city of the Belarusian province, and since 1802 Vitebsk. In 1812 near Polotsk there were two battles between the Russian and French armies. C. The first battle near Polotsk and the second battle near Polotsk. In 1839 in Polotsk there passed the church cathedral on which the Greco-Catholic Uniatsky Church in the Russian Empire later after the Brest Union made 243 years the decision on reunion with Russian Orthodox Church. In 1891 23 synagogues and Jewish houses of worship, 8 Orthodox Christians, 1 Roman Catholic and 1 Lutheran churches, chapel of old believers, men's and female monasteries worked in the city. On May 23, 1910, in Day of Remembrance of Venerable Euphrosynia, return of relics of Saint Euphrosynia to Polotsk took place. Relics were placed in Space Preobrazhkoye the temple. Till 1910 Euphrosynia's relics were in Kiev Pekarsk Lavra. Since 1924 Polotsk is a part of the Belarusian Ser. During the Great Patriotic War Polotsk was occupied. Occupation lasted about 3 years. Polotsk was defended by the 22nd Army of the Western Front, which for 2 weeks delayed advance of the German troops on the northern flank of the central site of the Soviet-German front. And only on July 16, 1941 the city was occupied by the opponent. See Defense of Polotsk 1941. Jews of the city were driven by Nazis in a ghetto and destroyed. During occupation tens of thousands of residents and Soviet prisoners of war were killed. Aggressors caused to the city huge damage. The central part of the city was destroyed. It was in many respects destroyed by Zapoliti. It is burned by Zadvini. In the city there is no industrial enterprise left. Power plants, the railway junction, a bread baking complex, meat processing plant, poultry processing plant, the brick and potters and sawing plants, other enterprises were destroyed. Polotsk was freed on July 4, 1944 by troops of the First Baltic Front. From September 20, 1944 to January 8, 1954 Polotsk was the administrative center of the Polotsk region as a part of the Belarusian Ser. On August 7, 1968 the decision of Executive Committee of the Polotsk City Council of People's Deputies approved the coat of arms of Polotsk. Authors G. 1. Pesner 5. B. Streltsov 5. N. Lyubovitsky A. K. Filipev. Coat of arms of Polotsk of Soviet period. In the description of the coat of arms it is said, the coat of arms is represented on a board of a traditional form with a ratio of the parties 4:5. The field of the coat of arms on diagonal is crossed by a wide blue strip of the western Vina River with which the Polota River designated by narrower strip merges. All field of the coat of arms is divided a wide strip into two parts kind of symbolizing the past and the future of the city. In the top part on the red field the image of a part of a cogwheel of steel collar, the retort, to a half filled with oil and a gold silhouette of the industrial enterprise, symbols of the industry of the city. In the lower part on the green field the image of the soldier rider in a helmet with a sword in a sheath, a board and a tag on a spear. Soldiers pose quiet peace, but he up in arm. Against the background of the rider at bottom edge of a board date of foundation of the city, 862, surrounded with an ornament. The historical coat of arms of Polotsk is approved on May 13, 1994 by decision No. 14/6 of the Polotsk City Council of People's Deputies and brought in the stamp matricle of Republic of Belarus on July 15, 1994 at No. 4. In the description of the coat of arms it is told, in the blue field Baroque, German, aboard the three-mast ship with silver sails floats on silver waves. In September 2002 in Polotsk were carried out by Dzinki. From May 25 to June 5, 2012 in the city there took place the festive actions devoted to the 1150th anniversary of the first mention of Polotsk in written sources. On January 14, 2013 by the decree of the President of Republic of Belarus behind number 27, about association of the areas and cities of regional submission of Republic of Belarus having the general administrative center, Polotsk, it was deprived of the status of the city of regional submission. In 1780 in Polotsk there were 360 wooden houses, 437 Christian petty bourgeoises, 478 Jews, a small number of noblemen and officials. Reduction of number of inhabitants and decline of the city were promoted by wars, the numerous fires, plague of 1566, hunger of 1600 and 1741-1746. In 1811 in Polotsk there were 1300 houses and 6320 inhabitants. The population of Polotsk in 1891, 20321 inhabitants, from them Jews -10797. 53.1%. Orthodox Christians -6989. 34.4%. Catholics -1534. 7.6%. Old Believers -406, Lutherans -299, Brothers in Faith -204, 2 Muslims. On a census of 1897, inhabitants, from them Jews, 3523 Russians, 3122 Belarusians, 913 Poles lived in the city. According to a census of 1939, Belarusians, 57.6%. 64 Jews, 21.9%. 4890 Russians, 16.5%. 614 Ukrainians, 2.1%. 211 Poles, 0.7%. 366 representatives of other nationalities lived in Polotsk. On a census of 1959 in Polotsk lived Belarusians, 71.09%. 9146 Russians, 20.34%. 2104 Jews, 68%. 973 Ukrainians, 2.16%. 282 Poles, 0.63%. 491 representatives of other nationalities. In 2017 in Polotsk was born 853 and 1036 people died. Birth rate coefficient -10.1 on 1,000 people. An average value on the area -9.7, on the Vitebsk region -9.6, across Belarus -10. Mortality rate -12.2 on 1,000 people. An average value on the area -14.1, on the Vitebsk region -14.4, across Belarus -12. On birth rate level Polotsk advances other large cities of area Vitebsk, Orsha, Novopolotsk. On birth rate level Polotsk shares with Bobruisk and Svetlogorsk the 16th places among 23 cities of the country with the population more than 50,000 people. On death rate takes the 3rd place, above only in Svetlogorsk and Resika. On the level of natural increase/decline in population, -2. Takes the 21st place. Economy. In Polotsk works a number of the enterprises, among which Zest Polotsk Steklovolokno. It is founded in 1958. The city-forming enterprise, the only producer of fiberglass fabric in Belarus. Zest Polotsk Dairy Plant. It is founded in 1944. One of the largest enterprises of the Vitebsk region for processing of milk. Zest Polotsk Plant of Bakery Products. It is founded in 1974. The manufacturing unitary enterprise, Polotsk Drinks and Concentrates. It is founded in 1968. Production of beer, kvass and mineral water. The Polotsk's enterprise Mostodrev branch of Jest, timber round, wood sawmilling, extraction of crude turpentine, production of cabinet furniture. Zest Technolit Polotsk. It is founded in 1923. Art casting, production of products from grey cast iron, products of metalworking. Mona Factory Mogatex branch of Jest, production of uniform and special clothes, garments for an interior. Rupev. Skorina's Heritage. It is founded in 1918. Printing and household services. GG, Polotsk winemaking plant. It is founded in 1929. The Promishment plant is founded by Jest Polotski in 1947, liquidated in 2013. Transport system. Motor transport. Polotsk, the large transport hub of the Vitebsk region. Through Polotsk Republican roads of P. Polotsk, Braslav. P. Vitebsk, Polotsk, border of Latvia. P. Polotsk, Rossona. P. Polotsk, deep border of Lithuania. And P. Ron. Lepel, Polotsk, border of Russia. As regular bus traffic to Riga, Tallinn, Daugavpils Street. Petersburg, Minsk, Vitebsk, Gomel, Mogilev and other cities of Belarus. In the city 16 bus routes work. Polotsk with Novopolotsk is connected by routes No. 5, 10, 10A. Polotsk, one of leaders of development of the cycle movement in Belarus. Exactly here earlier than in Minsk, the cycle strip on the carriageway in 2016 appeared. By bicycle 3.6% of all utilitarian trips with use of transport are made. The Polotsk station, the railway junction with the directions to Vitebsk, Daugavpils, Molodechno and Neval. My passenger trains, it is connected with Gomel, Moscow, Minsk, Molodechno, Postavami Street. Petersburg, Kaliningrad, Riga and some other. The suburban message with the nearby cities. Vitebsk, Bigosovo, Krulevshizna, Molodechno and Alyosha. Straight lines. The diesel train to the Russian cities of Neval, Novosokolniki and Veliki Luki were cancelled in 2009. Till 1944 there was a railway line to Pskov passing through Rossini which was destroyed during war and after her wasn't restored. Now there are plans for restoration of railway communication of Polotsk with Rossonami. Serget, Polotsk oil pipeline. Polotsk, Ventspils oil pipeline. Oil pipeline Anesha, Polotsk. The Polotsk oil pipeline, Bersy. Today Polotsk contains 8 bridges, including 1 railway through the Western Двина, 1 railway through Polota, 2 automobile through the Western Двина, 1 automobile through Balchitsa, 2 automobile and 1 pedestrian through Polota. The first transport bridge in Polotsk through the Western Двина River was built by the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Empire in 1915-1916 near the bridge existing nowadays on Yubileyная Street. In August 1919 he was burned. In 1924 the bridge near Internationalная Street, which today isn't existing, was built. A little later 1 more bridge near Yubileyная Street was built. Till 1932 there was a bridge near Sverdlov Street. From 1932 to 1941 the wooden bridge through the Western Двина was in the area of modern Nizhny Pokrovskoye Street. Pokrovsky Bridge through the Western Двина. On Yubileyная Street. The name is appropriated on October 29, 2020. Is constructed before the Great Patriotic War. His feature is existence of farms. I underwent reconstruction in the 1960th, 1993. With a construction nearby of the temporary pontoon bridge. 2019-2020. New bridge through the Western Двина. on Bogdanovich Street. Is built in the 1990s, was an unfinished construction as the beginning of his construction fell on the collapse of the USSR and an economic crisis. On the bridge it was planned to equip the allocated strip for tramways, however in this place probably the pipeline was laid. In 1580 under the decree of the Polish king Stefan Batory in Polotsk it was based Polotsk Jesuit. In the 17th century at Polotsk Epiphany Monastery there was an Orthodox Polotsk brotherly school at which since 1656 the famous teacher, the publicist, the poet, the playwright and the church figure Simeon Polotsky taught. On January 12, 1812 by the decree of the Emperor Alexander I Polotsky Jesuit it was transformed to the Polotsk Jesuit Academy with the rights of the university. The Polotsk Jesuit Academy existed 8 years till 1820 and became the first higher educational institution in the territory of modern Belarus. On the basis of the Polotsk Jesuit Academy since 1822 the Polotsk Highest Prairie School functioned. On January 21, 1830 the Polotsk Highest Prairie School was liquidated. On June 25, 1835 in the building of the former Polotsk Jesuit Academy the Polotsk Military School was opened. In 1865 during Milutinsky reform the Polotsk Military School was renamed into the Polotsk Military Gymnasium. In 1882 it was renamed back into the Polotsk Military School. At the beginning of World War I September 1914 the Polotsk Military School was evacuated from Polotsk. On September 1, 1844 the Spasoev-Frosinievsky Women's Spiritual School was opened. In 1907 the Spasoev-Frosinievsky School was transformed by the decree of the Holy Synod from free school to sick school and received the status of diocesan. The Spasoev-Frosinievsky Diocesan School stopped existence in 1917. On July 14, 1968 the Novopolotsk branch of the Belarusian Polytechnical Institute was created. Since January 1, 1974 on the basis of Novopolotsk's branch of the Belarusian Polytechnical Institute the Novopolotsk Polytechnical Institute was open. On September 14, 1993 the Novopolotsk Polytechnical Institute was renamed into the Polotsk State University. In 2006 the High School 18, the biggest school in the Vitebsk region was open and in Polotsk the source isn't specified 2110 days. In Polotsk 15 high schools, 2 gymnasiums, cadet school, 2 sports schools, including the Olympic Reserve, School of Arts and Art, the Polotsk State Agrarian and Economic College, the Polotsk Trade and Technological College of Balkuksoyuz, the Polotsk State Forest College, the U of P.M. Masharev, Polotsk College, the Polotsk State Professional College, the Polotsk State Professional Lyceum of Builders, the Polotsk State Professional Lyceum of Chemists, the Polotsk Medical College work. Data on the first library of the city treats the period of educational activity of Euphrosyne of Polotsk. In the 12th century in St. Sophia Cathedral the first Polotsk library was brought together. During later period there was the largest library of the Jesuit Collegium. More than 50,000 volumes. And then military school. There are data on Library of Epiphany Monastery. In 1912 the public Polotsk Library was created. Before Revolution of 1917 in Polotsk there was also a Library of Educational Society. During the German occupation of Polotsk from January 25 to November 21, 1918, many books disappeared from book depositories. In January 1919 in Polotsk, all library books were nationalized and the Central City Library is created. In 1926 appropriated to library in aim of revolution of 1905. In 1926-1929 Isidor Markovic Frumin, subsequently professor of the Moscow Institute of Culture, directed library. In 1940 in Polotsk there were 9 libraries. During the Great Patriotic War of library together with their funds were destroyed by fascist aggressors. In 1945 the Polotsk Regional Library was open. By 1954 the fund made it 100,000 copies. Due to the elimination of the Polotsk region, the library was reorganized into the Central City Library the same year. On December 8, 1978 libraries of Polotsk were united in the centralized library system. CNs. It consisted of the Central City Library, 3 children's libraries and 6 libraries branches. The Polotsk Regional Network of Public Libraries, RCS, is founded in January 1979 and consists of Regional Library, Children's Regional Library, 2 Gorposelkovy libraries and 34 libraries branches. 9 libraries are in agritowns. Polotsk branch of U, Polotsk State University, Scientific Library, 2006. Simeon Polotsky's Museum Library, 1994. Polotsk Central Regional Library, Children's Regional Library Branch No. 1 of the Polotsk RCS. Central Library of F. Skorina, 1945. Children's Library of 50. Tolstoy, Branch No. 1 Cs, 1948. Library of A. Herzen, Branch No. 2 Cs, 1947. Library of Ya. Kapala, Branch No. 3 Cs, 1950. Library Branch No. 4 Cs, 1967. Library Branch No. 5 Cs, 1974. Children's Library in Ya. Zerbi, Branch No. 6 Cs, 1952. Children's Library, Branch No. 7 Cs, 1967. Library Branch No. 8 Cs, 2006. Specialized Library for Visually Impaired Persons Branch No. 9 Cs, 2009. Technical Library Jest Polotsk Steklovolotno. In Polotsk the amateur and professional sport is developed. In the city the following institutions function. Specialized Educational Sports Facility of Physical Culture and Sport, Polotsk State Children's and Youth Sports School. Educational Sports Facility, Polotsk Specialized School of the Olympic Reserve for Children and Young People. Sports Chemist Complex. Sports Complex of Single Combats Olympian. Cultural and Sports Complex of Jest Polotsk Steklovolotno. Authorities. Representative body of the power is the Polotsk Regional Council of Deputies. He is elected inhabitants on single candidate districts. Term of office 4 years. The Council of Deputies of the 28th Convocation was elected on February 18, 2018. The chairman of the board is Gribovich Yesef Francevich. Executive and administrative organ of the power is the Polotsk Regional Executive Committee. On April 12, 2013, the president of ORB agreed to Shevchuk Nikolay Nikolaevich's appointment the chairman of the Polotsk District Executive Committee. In 1917, the newspaper of the Esarovsky Direction, Revolutionary Voice, was issued. In 1924-1926, the newspaper of the Polotsk District Committee of the Polotsk Plowman, since 1926 under the name Red Polochina, was issued. Also in Soviet period there was a city newspaper, Kommunizm Znamya. Sites: Street, Sofia Cathedral. It is constructed between 1044-1066, it is destroyed in 1710, it is restored in style of Vilensky Baroque in 1738-1750. One of the earliest temples of ancient Russia along with the Kiev and Novgorod Street. Sofia cathedrals and the most ancient stone construction in the territory of modern Belarus. Complex of buildings of the Spaso-Efrosinievsky Monastery. It is founded in 1128. Including Spaso-Preobrazhensky Temple. 1161. Architect Ion. Efrosinievsky Refectory Church. 1847. And Krestovozovonsky Cathedral. 1893-1897. Architect 5. F. Korshakov. Complex of buildings of the former Epiphany Monastery, including Epiphany Cathedral. 18th century. And structure of Brotherly School. 1780-1788. Complex of buildings of the former Jesuit Collegium. 18th century. Complex of buildings of the former Monastery of Bernardines, including the Roman Catholic Church of Virgin Mary. 1758. Ruins inhabited building. 1758. Inhabited building of the former Monastery of Franciscans. Second half of the 18th century. Sacred Church of the Intercession. It is put in 1905, it is restored in 2004. House known as Cabin of Peter the Great. 1692. Nizhny Street 33. An architecture monument with Baroque style elements. Now here the stationary exhibition, Walk on Lower Pokrovsk, is located. Building of Svoboda Square. End of the 18th century. Building of the former Orthodox Spiritual School. F. Skorina Avenue. It is constructed in the second half of the 19th century. Now here the Polotsk Executive Committee of the City Soviet of People's Deputies is located. Building of the former Spaso-Efrosinievsky Women's Diocesan School. Efrosinia Polotskaya Street. 45. It is constructed at the beginning of the 20th century. Now the Polotsk State Forest College. Building of the former Lutheran Church. Beginning of the 20th century. Now here the Museum of Local Law is located. Roman Catholic Church of Street. Andrei Boboli. 1996. Greco-Catholic Church Street. Pereskev Polotsk. 1996. Novostylov Street. 70. Church of Saints Boris and Gleb Bolchitsky of Borysoglebsky Monastery. 12th century. Pereskev Pyatnitsy Saint Church of Bolchitsky Borysoglebsky Monastery. 12th century. The Sacred and Nikolaev Cathedral, till 1830. The Roman Catholic Church of Street. Stefanovich Jesuit Collegium. 1738. It is sorted in 1964. The Roman Catholic Church of Street. Anthony of the Monastery of Franciscans, after 1838. New Church of the Intercession. 1763-1775. It is sorted in 1860. Efrosinya Polotskaya's cross made in 1161 by the architect Lazar Boychuk by request of Venerable Efrosinya Polotskaya. It is lost in days of the Great Patriotic War. Assumptions of the Polotsk Barrows. The Polotsk historian D5. Based on researches of documents, indirect archaeological finds and logic of city construction in the Monobrev, Polotsk and Polokana, adduces a number of powerful arguments in favor of stay in the past in the territory of modern Polotsk of Kurgani burials which were destroyed in the course of growth of the city and construction of airfield during World War I. He also calls the Kurgani complex, which was located in the area from a northern bend of Polota to the modern area airfield, northern, and the burial ground corresponding to position of modern Pokrovsk and Communistic streets, east. According to the historian G5. Staikova in northern, the main part of the Polotsk barrows was a barrow, the burial ground. According to the contemporary Stefan Batory Gadenstein, in the 16th century Polotsk consisted of two locks, top and lower, and the cities of Zaporozhye and was surrounded with a deep ditch, high shaft and a wooden wall from all directions. According to 5b. Shermatov, in 1655 the top lock was strengthened, Tainai standing, with 9 towers, lower, Shop Tarasa, with 7 towers, the posts. The city surrounded with a double palisade and a deep ditch was well adapted for defense. Last time the Polotsk strengthenings were used in Patriotic War of 1812. No traces of locks remained. Memorial Chapel to Heroes of Patriotic War of 1812. 1850. It is restored on May 21, 2010. The author of the project Antonio Edamini, the architect Fixin. Red Bridge, the place of fierce battle of the Russian troops with French on October 7, 1812. 1975, the commemorative plaque is established. The memorable complex, Mound of Immortality, is filled by a residence on the left coast of the Western Двина in memory of residents of Polotsk and the Polotsk district killed by invaders during the Great Patriotic War and also the soldiers of the Red Army who were killed in battles minus the German invaders in the territory of the Polotsk district. 1966. Bust of the hero of the Soviet Union Alexander Konstantinovich Gorovets. 1973. Sculptor S. Adashevich. Monument to Francis Carini, 1974. Sculptors A. Glebov 1. Glebov and A. Zaspitsky, Architect 5. Moroccan. Bust of the military leader Vladimir Martinovich Azan, 1979. Sculptor S. Walker, Architect by Kozakov. Monument to Liberators of Polotsk, 1981. Sculptor G. Moromtsev, Architect 5. Aladov. Monument to the 23rd Soldiers Guardsmen, 1989. Monument to Euphrosyne of Polotsk, 2000. Sculptor 1. Polobov. Monument to Krivichi, 2001. Sculptor A. Shaternik. Monument to the Letter, 2003. Sculptor A. Pinsky. Memorial Chapel in memory of the soldiers Polotsk who died in the Afghan War, 2004. Monument to Simeon Polotsky, 2004. Sculptor A. Pinsky. Monument to Veslav Chirody, 2007. Sculptors A. Prokhorov B.S. Ignatyev 50. Minkovich, the Architect D. Sokolov. The first equestrian statue of the prince in Belarus. Monument to Andrei Polotsky, 2009. Sculptor 1. Polobov. Bust of the hero of defense of Port Arthur, General of the Roman Kondratenko, 2008. Sculptor 50. Oganov. Yuri Terek's bust, 2010. Sculptor 50. Minkovich. Monument to the Architect Ion, 2012. Sculptor A. Chapeau. Monument to the Polotsk Student, 2010. Memorial plate to Professor Gabriel Gruber on the building of a collegium, 2014. Memorable sign Polotsk a Kaliska Belaruska Dyarsa. Nasts, 2017. In total for the end of 2014 in the city there were 24 memorial plates. In the spring of 2008 specialists of RUP established that the geographical center of Europe is in Polotsk. Later these calculations were confirmed in the Russian Central Research Institute of Geodesy, Aerial Photograph and Cartography. On May 31, 2008 in Polotsk the memorable sign, Geographical Center of Europe, was established. Now someone will visit Polotsk will be able to receive the memorable certificate that he visited Heart of Europe. In Polotsk there are 11 museums. The museums of Polotsk are a part of National Polotsk Historical and Cultural Memorial Estate. Expositions of some Polotsk museums are placed in architecture monuments. Street. Sofia Cathedral. Sulphurs. 11 / it is grey. The 18th centuries. The case of the former Jesuit Collegium. 18th century. Lutheran Church. The head of the 20th century. Brotherly School. 2. 18th century. Houses on Voykov Street. 1 in Pokrovskoye Street. 46. 19. The head of the 20th centuries. Cabin of Peter the Great. 1692. A water tower. 1956. The Museum Fund of National Polotsk Historical and Cultural Memorial Estate makes about 8,000 units of storage. Children's Museum. Museum of Local Lore. Museum of the Belarusian Publishing. Simeon Polotsky's Museum Library. Museum of Military Glory. Museum of History of Architecture of Street. Sofia Cathedral. Museum Apartment of the Hero of the Soviet Union Z.M. Tusnelabova Marchenko. Museum of Traditional Manual Weaving of Pujezerch. Natural and Ecological Museum. Stationary Exhibition, Walk on Lower Pokrovsk. Art Gallery. Natural and Ecological Museum. Museum of Local Lore. Museum of Publishing. Theaters. Folk Theater of Ahistorical Suit Polotsk Zvyaz. Model Junior Theater Studio, Karmenia. Honored Amateur Collective of Belarus Pilgrim Theater. Events and Actions. Holidays. On June 5, Day of Remembrance of Venerable Euphrosynia. Abessis Polotsk. Festivals. Rings of Sofia, the International Festival of Organ Music. International Festival of Ancient and Modern Chamber Music. Rubin, a festival of medieval culture. Europe plus Polotsk, a festival competition of young performers of a variety song. Interesting facts. Polotsk, the cultural capital of Belarus -2010. The Ministry of Culture of Belarus initiated carrying out the stock cultural capital of Belarus for the purpose of activization of regional public initiatives of support of the Belarusian culture and involvement of tourists. Was the Honorable Right to the First made the decision to carry a title of the cultural capital of Belarus of 2010, to provide to ancient Polotsk as the spiritual center of Belarus. In honor of the city in 1788, the Polotsk warship, which was a part of the Black Sea Fleet, was called. The ship was a part of the Black Sea Fleet. On July 3, 1788 was involved in battle at Fedonisi. On September 19, 1788 destroyed the Turkish coastal battery and burned warehouses. Sanka seized 11 Turkish transport vessels with freight. I was involved in battles at the Kerch Strait on July 8, 1791, on July 31, 1791 at the island of Kolyakria. In 1792-1798 Polotsk annually as a part of squadrons was in practical swimmings in the Black Sea. In December 1799 Polotsk left Nikolov with supplies for the squadron of the Admiral F.F. Yushakov, which was in the Mediterranean Sea and was missing. Presumably I broke at the Danube branches. One of the greatest Russian naval commanders, future Admiral Dmitry Nikolaevich Senyavin, ordered the Polotsk ship. Polotsk in Fiction and Music. This city is mentioned in the book by the Swedish writer Franz Gunnar Bengtsson, Red Orm, in connection with a travel of group of the Swedish Vikings to thresholds of Dnieper. The song Bye Bye. Visper Polotsk is devoted to the city. Polotsk, the most ancient city of Belarus and one of the oldest cities of ancient Russia, is the homeland of a number of outstanding historical figures of Eastern Europe. Politicians and military leaders, educators and patrons who left a mark in the history of the Belarusian, Russian and Jewish people. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.